we are going to be doing a flipped class, which means that you come to class with the knowledge that you need to get ready to start right away. So right now, I'm going to prime you by giving you some information about printmaking, specifically monotype printmaking, so when you come to class tomorrow, you're ready to go. Printmaking is a process by which relief, intaglio, lithograph, or monotype prints are made. Printmakers can produce many of the same prints by block printing, for example, or they can print only one image, such as in monotype printing. According to the scholarship of Venice Biedenbender, printmaking originated in China after paper was invented around 105 AD. Relief printing appeared in Europe in the 15th century, when the process of papermaking was imported from the East. Woodcuts are the oldest type of printmaking. This is a type of relief printing. Relief printing means that the image to be inked is raised compared to the rest of the block, like a stamp. So you can see that the artist carved away what she did not want inked and what she did not want to show up on the paper, and instead left what she did want inked and what she did want to show up on the paper. Influential Western artists such as Degas and Van Gogh were largely influenced by Japanese artists during the 1700s and 1800s. Japanese printmaking artists, to be specific. You can see in Van Gogh's self-portrait here how his art kind of mimics printmaking. Look at the harsh lines in this print. And look how he's mimicking them in this. A monotype print, or monoprint, is what you'll be doing to get introduced to the printmaking process, as it's the most straightforward. The artist creates a design on a plate, which is usually made out of plexiglass, and the paper is laid on top and ran through a press, pressed on the plate by hand, or traced on top of. Monotype prints only allow the artist to create one image with the print, and no proofs can be made. It is a very high-stakes, but fun process. Now we will watch a video done at SUNY Oswego. This monotype printing process is my personal favorite, but it requires a press in order to do it. I'll show you what it looks like.
Monotype is basically when you start with a single surface and you're just putting ink over the top of it. You haven't done anything to that surface. It's totally smooth. Usually you're doing it on glass or plexiglass or something like that, and you're just basically painting on it, and then you're running it through the press with a piece of paper on top of it, and whatever ink was on there is transferred to that piece of paper. So it's the mirror image of that. I can keep it as tight or as loose as I want. I'm going to do something just a little bit, something a little looser that maybe I can work into afterwards with some watercolors or something like that. I'm an illustration major, so I like to use these just to work back into them. They provide really cool backgrounds and things like that. Already. So just lining up the plate with this is called registration, just to make sure that the paper has an even 2-inch border all the way around it. Basically, by doing this, we don't have to draw like a border around it or cut our paper too big and then cut it down. It just kind of keeps it easy. Being in printmaking, yeah, you're around like this really old equipment and you're thinking about kind of how they used to do things. But I think that it makes it easier to think about how we do things now and where it came from. It's kind of like you either get a good print or you don't, because you can't really go back. You only have one chance. That's why it's monotype. They're dry, and that's it. I don't think we should ever really get rid of this this older tradition. I think there's a lot of uses for it, and it just makes you, to actually work with the art instead of just like press a button and print, it's totally different experience.
Alright, the next type of monoprint making is trace monotype print, or monotrace. In this video, the artist is creating a monotype print by tracing. The artist inks the plate, plexiglass plate, lays paper over it, then lays an image over the paper and draws on top of it, tracing the image. The pressure from the tracing transfers the ink to the paper. This is a great way to copy an exact image, but it does not allow for as much creativity and spontaneity as the previous method we just went over, which is something to think about when you're considering what you want to make. Okay, you can see that she's first securing the paper down so it doesn't move around. Most people use a plate for the paper, but she is using paper to put her ink on in order to trace, which is a method you can still use, but I personally think the plate works a little bit better. So after she's secured the paper on top of it and taken that excess ink out, she secured the image that she's going to trace on top of it. This ensures that as she's tracing it, it's not going to move around. It's going to be the exact image she wants. Notice how she's not resting her hand on the paper while she's tracing it. This is super important because any pressure you push on the plate and the paper will create an image on your final print, if that makes sense. So your fingerprints will come up, you resting your hand will come up. That's why it's recommended just to only use a pen. The trace monotype print primarily makes contour line drawings or prints. So that's something to consider when you're developing your design. Okay, so now she's going to take the initial black print monotrace off, and you can see the contour line drawing that came from that. There's some smudges from her hand, so to avoid that, just avoid putting pressure while you're drawing. So she's using this method. Usually monotypes are only done at one time with multiple colors on the same plate, but she is going to print it several different times by registering it the same way every time in order to get the color she wants. So I can show you how to do that if that's something you're interested in. Otherwise, you can use all the colors all at once. So here you can see she's tracing where she wants the red, and she's applying pressure to the whole thing because she wants the entire thing red. Because remember, anytime you put pressure on this trace monotype print, it's going to show up that color. Now she's doing the next color, registering it. And here is the finished product. You can see that this is an accurate transfer by tracing it. Okay, the paper is super important. There are different types of printmaking paper. For this project, I want you to use Reeves BFK. This is a Western paper made in France, and it is very absorbent of the ink. It's awesome to work with. I love it. It comes in different colors, but we're going to be using white. This paper is archival, meaning that it's acid-free and will not yellow over time. This paper has a deckled edge, meaning that when the paper was made in a screen, the fibers ended naturally against the screen, so it hasn't been cut. We want to keep the deckled edge because it's nice to keep all your paper edges cohesive. If you choose to make your paper a different size, tear it, because this will be cohesive with the natural deckled edge. Don't cut it. I will provide a tear bar. It will be next to the stack of paper. So here you can see this is a deckle edge. When they made the paper, they just left the natural edge that developed. Tear bar. You can see how this person's using it. If you need help, I can show you, but it's pretty straightforward. Set the tear bar down with the beveled edge where you're going to tear, and tear the paper. Pretty easy. You can see right here, this is the deckled edge, and how the tear matches that. Okay, making prints. After you have your paper ready, get a few pieces of paper ready. Pick out the size of plexiglass you want. It's usually better to use a smaller size plexiglass than what you need, or you can use a larger size and create a bleed print. A bleed print is when the ink goes all the way to the edge of the paper. There is no border. Choose which method you want to do, with a press or tracing. If you use a press, then follow the video. Get your paper ready, create your design on the plate, lay your paper down on the plate, then turn both the paper and then run both the plate and the paper through the press. If you choose the trace monotype, choose an image you want to trace, get your paper ready, then ink the entire plate. After, securely attach the paper on top of the plate. After that, attach the image on top of the paper. Lastly, trace the image you want to trace. Okay, digital rights and responsibilities for you guys. If you choose an image to trace, consider your rights and responsibilities as a digital citizen, and consult Creative Commons if you choose to trace someone else's work. Like the picture of David Bowie in the video we just watched, that person probably did not take that picture, and we don't know if she had the rights to use that. If you are choosing to trace someone else's work, watch this video to ensure that you do not disrespect someone else's work or the laws protecting their work. So let's watch it.
What is a Creative Commons license? How do they work? And what is the rationale behind them? As we know, under the standard copyright license, an owner of intellectual property carries exclusive rights to their work. These exclusive rights can be given to another party through an agreement. But what if a copyright holder wishes to share their work? Do they have to come to an agreement with everyone wanting to use it? A Creative Commons license allows a copyright owner to give default rights to copy, distribute, display, and perform their works. This is not to say that a CC license is a forfeit of copyright, but rather conditioned permission to use the copyrighted work. There are 4 different conditions involved with the CC license, which set out what users of the work can and can't do with it. Attribution is a core condition attached to all licenses. This is a requirement that regardless of what an individual does with the content, the original creator and any other nominated parties must be credited, along with a link to their original source provided. If a copyright owner wishes to reserve their commercial rights, they can limit the use of their works to non-commercial purposes only, allowing them to maintain the ability to profit from their work by entering a commercial agreement. By conditioning the CC license with no derivative works, a copyright owner can prevent their work from being adapted or changed in any way. Alternatively, if a copyright owner is happy for people to remix, adapt, or expand their work, they can condition that these adaptations must be redistributed under the same licensing terms. The purpose of the share-alike condition is to ensure that no matter what form the work takes on, it will always be free, open, and licensed for reuse. There are 6 available licenses which can be assigned depending on what combination of restrictions the licensee wishes to place on their work. Here I have broken the restrictions up into 3 levels. The licensee can choose to either just have the first level, the first and second level, the first and third level, or the first, second, and third. For example, I create a song and am automatically entitled to the exclusive copyrights, but I wish to get more exposure as an artist by allowing others to freely use and distribute my work. I have obtained a non-commercial, non-derivative license. This allows me to reserve the commercial rights so that in the event a body, such as a record label, wants to use my work, I will be able to negotiate a private agreement with them. I have also prevented anyone remixing my work, as I feel this could devalue it. But what does the creator have to gain from making their work freely available? Sharing creativity with others allows an expression of an idea to spread to more and more people, inspiring collaboration, further development, and refinement of ideas. Sharing work with a CC license can lead to a better version or an expanded idea, as well as wider exposure, while preserving the creator's ability to be recognized and profit. If a creator wants to prevent changes, they can always assign a non-derivative condition. CC licensing has seen a massive expansion over the last decade. As more creators share their work, there is more access to unrestricted information for innovators and creators to draw from.
Alright. Go back to the PowerPoint. Okay. So, once you're done printing, your work is dried, and you need to document your prints and upload them to your online portfolio or blog. Please write a reflection about your work, the process, and description of your work. Remember to put your name, the date, the title, the dimensions, and the medium you used. If you're unsure how to document your print, please read my blog, Portfolios, and watch the video, How to Photograph Your Art, at the bottom. Here's the link to my blog. You'll be expected to provide feedback on at least 2 other classmates' work via their blog or online portfolio. You must critique their work based on the principles of design and their reflection and description. We will also do an in-class larger critique. See you tomorrow in class. Y'all be ready to artwork. Oh, and I will provide a list of my resources used in this presentation.